Hey, this is Waylon from Swiftwood Bows, and we're moving right along here with our hickory bow. Um, just to kind of recap what we've done so far. In the beginning videos, we laid out our design, we roughed out the bow, we got it bending at floor tiller, and to the point that we were able to string it. We put our self knocks in there. We strung the bow for the first time, which really gave us a clearer picture of the tiller. We got it bending a little bit on the tillering tree, and we took some time to clean up the handles and the knocks, and now we're ready to finish tillering this bow, get it out to full draw, get it ready to shoot. So this always kind of feels like the home stretch for me in terms of tillering. We've got the bow bending out to 17 inches at 45 pounds, or 45 pounds at 17 inches. So not bending super far yet. My hope is to get this out to 28 inches. And you can see the top limb is on the right here. It's bending just a little bit more than the bottom limb on the left, which is what I want. So with my bow here, at the stage that I'm at, I'm really liking the general shape of the bend. I feel like, for the most part, it's got a pretty good shape to it. And so, when I've got the bow braced and I've got a good tiller on it, my goal is to maintain the good healthy bend that I already have in the bow, and simply reduce the draw weight in a way that won't alter the tiller. And I'm still looking for any little opportunity that I have to improve the tiller. I don't want to get complacent and just start taking wood off to reduce the weight without keeping a critical eye on the tiller. And that means that I can't take all the weight off all at once. I'm going to do it in short sessions. So because I'm not seeing any obvious flaws in the tiller right now, I like how it's bending. I'm going to get out my card scraper here in a minute. And I'm just going to be taking even strokes off the limbs. And I like to count when I'm at this stage to make sure that I'm doing the same amount to this side as I am to that side. So for example, I might take 50 strokes off of this limb with the scraper, and then I'll take 50 strokes off the other limb. But then I want to check and make sure that it had the result that I wanted it to have. So I'm going to do a lot of going back and forth between stringing the bow, checking it on the tillering tree, using my hands to continue to feel the taper and make sure that I'm not leaving any thick spots. Also paying attention to the edges, making sure, especially as the bow is getting thinner now, closer to its final dimensions, I really want to make sure that I'm not working one edge down and then leaving the other edge thick. I want them to stay even. So there's a lot of little things that I'm paying attention to, even though it's feeling pretty straightforward for me right now in terms of having a good tiller and reducing the weight. There's still a lot of things that I'm keeping a critical eye out for, because everything that I do to the bow to take wood off of it, it's getting it closer to being finished. It's getting it closer to the draw weight that I'm looking for. And so if I'm not being mindful about what I'm taking off and why, I'm creeping closer to that goal but I might be working against myself and having a good tiller. And so I always want to be making sure that everything that I do is either maintaining a good tiller or working towards a good tiller, and never just removing wood. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind, especially as a beginner, because that's one of the common pitfalls that new bowyers have, is missing their target draw weight by a great deal. And that, to me, that happens because they're removing wood without having it improve the tiller. It's almost like this kind of race against time, in the sense that everything you're doing is inexorably working you towards that that final goal. And so you just want to be making sure that you're getting there with a good tiller. Otherwise, you're going to have to go past your draw weight. I feel like I've beaten that point in hard enough, but it's something to remember. And all right, so I'm going to get out my tools, take this off the tree here, and I'll show you what it looks like when I do some even wood removal. And I guess one final point is you may be having your bow at this stage, bending, pulling it out to a certain weight, and you're seeing that your tiller is not looking good. And that's certainly something that's going to happen. It happens to me as well. This is my goal, is to have a good looking tiller by this point so that it's smooth sailing until the end. But sometimes that's just not the case. And so there's a few things that I want you to keep in mind. You know how I told you before that you never want to pull the bow past your target draw weight. So if my target draw weight's 45 pounds on this bow, right now it goes to 45 pounds at 17 inches, so I'm not going to pull it past that until I remove more wood and weaken the bow. But more importantly than that, you never want to pull your bow past the point that you can see a problem. So if you brace your bow and you see a problem in the tiller, don't pull your bow. Unbrace it. Work on that problem. See if you can improve it. Brace it again. See if you've made a difference. Get your brace looking good before you start pulling the bow. And then when you start pulling the bow, if you notice a thin spot or a thick spot, you have to stop and you have to address that, because if you pull your bow even further, all you're doing is stressing out that weak spot in your bow, causing set and possibly even breaking your bow. So don't get into a hurry. Always stop and address tillering issues as you see them, and then eventually your bow is gonna even out and have a good tiller, and then you can progress with what I'm doing now. So don't be discouraged if you're not liking the look of your tiller. Just be patient, work on the trouble spots, and get your bow bending evenly as soon as you can before you move on. But since my bow is looking good, I'm going to move on with some wood removal. So I'm going to try switching over to my card scraper here. Though I think using some sort of rasp that you have a fair bit of control over, like I think the Shinto rasp could work fine as well, as long as you're being careful not to dig into one spot too much. So like I said, I like the way that this limb is bending, so all that I need to do is get it to be a little bit thinner evenly along the whole length, and it should maintain its healthy bend. And so I'm just going to take my scraper, start out here near the tip, and I'm just going to push all the way up into the fades. This is what I should be looking for, is solid, shavings. If you're just making dust, your card scraper is not sharp enough. I don't currently have a video up for how to sharpen a scraper. I plan to do that, but there's plenty of other good YouTube videos on how to keep your card scraper sharp. But it's important to have a good sharp scraper. Okay, so I'm gonna do 40 good hard scrapes on this side, and I'm gonna turn the bow around. I'm gonna do 40 good hard scrapes on the other side, and then we'll string it back up, and we'll see what kind of difference that made, not only for the tiller, but how much that reduces the draw weight. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm not riding one edge more than the other. I'm trying to keep it relatively flat at this point. So that was about 40 scrapes. I think my edges are really sharp here. Not that that makes a big difference on the belly, but at this stage, I like to start keeping things a little bit more rounded. Some people wait till the very end to round off all their edges. And that's fine, it can work. I just don't like having any surprises at the last minute. So I kind of like to start bringing in the final shape of my bow during this final tillering process. It makes a little bit of extra work for me because I'll have to keep kind of rounding these edges off as I go, but I found that it doesn't take too much time or work. Myself a little too close to the wall here for the benefit of the camera. I usually don't leave myself in a corner like that, but it's okay. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to do 40 even strokes, and I'm going to round off the edges. One thing I do want to mention about doing even strokes and trying to maintain the thickness and the taper of your limb is that the wider the limb, the less efficient your tool is. And so what that means is out here where the bow is narrow, your scraper is going to be naturally more aggressive there. And so just keep that in mind. If you're not careful, you can end up whittling away your outer limb and making it too weak in comparison to the rest of your bow. So I just kind of have started almost unconsciously pushing a little bit less hard out here so that it kind of maintains the thickness taper that I had instead of making it more extreme by taking more wood off out here. So just something to think about and pay attention to as you're going along. So this is a good time to just give it a quick feel with your fingers. And then let's get it back up on the tree and see what happens. Okay, we've got it back up on the tree. I'm going to take it back out to 45 pounds and we'll see if we get further than 17 inches. So we gained about an inch, which is about what I expected. So now at 45 pounds, we're out to 18 inches. And now I want to look and see how our bend is looking. And it hasn't changed the tiller much. The tiller's still looking pretty good. So if all goes well and I don't run into any unexpected problems, I can literally just keep doing this process all the way out to my intended draw length of 28 inches. I will check back in with you a few times along the way, just so you can see the progress and see how the tiller's looking at different draw lengths. But I'm anticipating that I should be able to kind of just keep going, taking off a certain number of scrapes on each side, retesting the thickness taper, putting it up on the tree, judging the tiller by eye, and just slowly working my way down. And I want to emphasize how important patience is at this stage, because it's so tempting to just try to take off a lot of wood all at once and kind of shortcut the process and get right out to your draw weight. But there's just too much that can happen taking that much wood off, and it can create unexpected weak spots, and there's just not much substitute for being slow and patient at this stage, especially when you're just starting off in bow making. So take your time, check frequently, and ease it out to the draw length that you want. So I'm going to keep working on this. Like I said, I'll check back in with you a few times just so you can see, what the draw length looks like. 22 inches and 24 inches and 28 inches, and then we'll be ready to shoot. All right, wanted to do a quick check-in here to show that I've got the bow bending out to 22 inches. So let's take a look at that. So this is the bow bending 45 pounds, 22 inches. Still liking the general shape of my bend. Just wanted to say a couple things about the wood removal. There's no magic number for how many scrapes you should do when you're reducing the weight. It's going to depend on how sharp your tools are, it's going to depend on the type of wood you're using, and it's going to depend on the design of the bow. A wider, flatter limb like these, it's not as efficient removing wood off of as opposed to like a high crowned, narrow belly. So you're going to kind of have to play around and find out what works for you. My goal usually when I'm just removing weight, maintaining a good tiller, is to try to progress by an inch of draw length for each session of wood removal. And so I don't know, for this it's been around like 80 good scrapes on each limb before I can draw it down an inch further than it was before. But like I said, you don't want to rush it too much, so just find what works for you so that you can carefully monitor the progress. So that you can carefully monitor the progress of your tiller as you're moving along, but you also don't want to be stringing and unstringing your bow over and over and over again without really making any noticeable progress, because then you're just kind of wasting your time. So it's about finding that happy balance. So I'm going to keep going, and I think I've got a couple little adjustments here I want to make to the tiller, but all in all I'm feeling pretty good about where things are. Something you want to continue to pay attention to is the balance between the two limbs, making sure that one limb is not getting stronger than the other. So right now, the distance from the belly to the string on the lower limb is just about 6 inches, just a little over. And then when I measure over here, it's about 1/6 and 1/8. So it's not, I don't have quite as much positive tiller as I'd like. I think I'm going to take a little bit more off the top limb on the next session so that I can get about a 1/4 inch difference, so that the space between the belly and the string on the upper limb is about a 1/4 of an inch more than on the bottom limb. I'm pretty close, so I'm kind of splitting hairs here, but I just wanted you to remember to pay attention, not only to the overall look of the bend, but to make sure that the limbs are balanced like you want them to be. I'm going to go ahead and keep removing wood and bring this all the way out to full draw, and I'll show you what it looks like at full draw. Alright, I'm back. I've got the bow tillered out to full draw. I just wanted you to take a look at it here. One thing I wanted to show you was, if you can see, this stave was pretty much perfectly straight when I started with it, and you can see it's taken just a little bit of set. Some people call it set, some people call it string follow. There's kind of different subtle definitions for those, but basically what it means is that the cells on the belly got a little bit crushed, and so the bow has remembered just a little bit of its bend. And this is probably, about 1 inch of set. If you put the back of the bow up against the wall and measure the distance between the tip and the wall, that's typically how we measure set. So looking at that, it's just about 1 inch. And that's well within what's considered acceptable amount of set for making a self bow. Every self bow takes a little bit of set, even if it's not really measurable, unless the bow's way overbuilt, and then you're going to have a slow shooting bow anyway. So a little bit of set is going to affect the performance a little bit, but if it's just a small amount, like 1 inch or even 2 inches, you're probably going to be fine. And I think where this particular bow gained its set from, it wasn't due to a poor design, and it wasn't due to poor tillering. In this case, I think that I just struggled to get the moisture content as low as I needed to. The climate here has been pretty wet and humid all summer long, and even though I kept this stave inside for a long time, I still think I just didn't get it dry enough, and that is a risk with, especially with whitewoods like hickory, in more humid climates. So if you live in a humid climate, be aware of that. You might need to take extra measures to make sure that your stave is as dry as you can get it. Definitely bringing it inside in the air conditioning or in the heat in the winter will help. But all in all, I'm happy with how the bow turned out. And the tiller's looking really good. I brought it out to 27 inches, 45 pounds at 27 inches, and I tend to stop 1 inch short of my full draw, so that I can really clean up the edges just like I want them, do all the sanding that I need to do to get the bow looking nice, and that usually takes a little bit of weight off the bow. And so if I get right up to what I want, 45 pounds at 28 inches, and then I do all that final rounding and sanding, I may end up falling a little short of my goal. And so it's just a little bit of caution there at the end. With those final few inches of tillering, I think it's a good idea to start tillering by hand as opposed to using the tillering tree. The tillering tree gives you a pretty darn good view of the shape of the tiller, but it's not exactly the same as when you're drawing the bow by hand. And so I like to, as well as using the tillering tree, I like to use my eye and just see what the bow's doing when I'm actually drawing it. And if I don't have somebody to draw the bow for me, I just use my camera. I set it up on a timer to take a picture of full draw, or I take a video of myself drawing the bow so that I can go back and I can examine it a little bit. So I recommend trying that out just to make sure that when you're drawing the bow almost out to full draw, that it's actually looking good. So let's string it up here. I'll put it up on the tillering tree quick so you can see what the tiller's looking like at full draw, and then I think I'll take it out and put some arrows through it. Brace height's a little bit low. So your brace height, I'll just show you what I'm doing here. So your brace height is the distance between your handle and your string. I like it to be as high as the tip of my thumb, so you can see it's a little short. So all I need to do to adjust that is twist the string tighter by a few turns. That makes the string shorter, thus raising the brace height. Like so. So I just wanted to bring up a few points about the final tillering stage. I know that I didn't really show a lot of what I was doing to get from 22 inches to 24 inches to 26 inches out to 28 inches. But I was really just kind of repeating myself. So I'm just going to kind of reiterate now. I know I talked about it before, but my tiller was looking good, so I was just simply taking an equal number of scrapes off of one side, an equal number of scrapes off the other side, rechecking things on the tillering tree, seeing how much weight I took off, making sure that the tiller was still looking good. And it was pretty smooth sailing. I didn't have to do a lot of adjustments. On your first bows, and even for some of my bows at some points, it's not going to be that smooth, and you're going to see, okay, well, the left limb is bending more than, or the top limb is bending more than the right limb, the top limb is bending more than the bottom limb, or vice versa, or there's a spot that just doesn't seem to be bending at all. So I don't want to overcomplicate it. There's a lot of books and videos and stuff out there that really bring a lot of complicating details into the process, but if a limb isn't bending enough, take more scrapes off that limb until it's matched up with the other one. If there's a spot that's stiff and not bending enough, take some scrapes off of that spot until it's bending like the rest of the limb. If there's a spot that's bending too much, put some big X's on that, leave it alone, keep taking wood off everywhere else until that spot catches up with the rest of the bow. I mean, it's really as simple as that, and it's really easy when you're in the middle of things to talk yourself into all these weird ideas about what you need to do or don't do. But if you take wood off where it's too stiff and you leave it alone where it's not stiff enough, you're going to get a good tiller. And I think my word of warning is that if you're approaching your desired draw weight, for me it was 45 pounds at 28 inches. If I'm getting close to that 45 pounds at 28 inches and my tiller's still not looking good, I just have to let go of that idea of what I wanted to get out of my weight. I would much rather have a 25 pound bow with a perfect tiller than to have a 45-pound bow that is off tiller. It's not going to be durable, it's not going to be long lasting, it's not going to be effective at shooting. It's just not worth it. And so don't get hung up on your draw weight. Keep working on your tiller until it's bending nicely, even if that means you end up with, you know, whittling your bow into a toothpick. At least you can have that as a learning experience. You can pick up another piece of wood, take that knowledge that you gained, and do a better job at hitting that target draw weight. But my advice for you is don't settle for a poorly tillered bow just because you had some arbitrary number in mind for how you wanted to tiller it. Keep driving towards perfection on your tiller, and you won't regret it. It's going to make you a better bowyer, even if you don't get the bow that you want this time. Okay, let me put it up here on the tillering tree. We'll take a look at it, make sure you can see it well. I'm going to zoom in here. Okay. So there's the bow at 27 inches. 45 pounds. You can see how much more the limbs are bending. You can see the left limb, which is the bottom limb, is a little stiffer than the right limb, which is what I wanted. Alright, let's take this outside, shoot a few arrows through it. Alright, I haven't shot this bow yet, so we'll see how it does. I'm not going to go through the how-tos of shooting. I have another video called How to Shoot a Selfbow. I recommend checking that out if you're not familiar with the ins and outs of it. So I'm just going to see what happens. Shoots pretty nice. Arrow came out of it nice and straight. Has good speed. No hand shock. I'd go hunting with this bow. Alright, my next step, now that I'm going to spend some more time shooting, I'm just not going to make you watch all of it. I think it's a good idea to, I don't know, put 100, even 200 arrows through the bow to make sure that everything is going to work out. You want to monitor the tiller, make sure it's not changing as you're shooting it, monitor the set that it's taking, not that there's a whole lot you can do about it at this point, and just get a general feel that the bow's going to do all right. Look for any signs of damage on the belly and on the back. Listen for any ticking sounds. And then once you feel good about the bow, then you can move on to sanding it and finishing it. Now, I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail about that sort of thing. I've got other videos that go into a lot of detail about the finishing process. What I really wanted was to help you get to the point where you had a well-tillered, good shooting bow, and the rest is all just gravy on top. This is the real art of bow making, and this is what you need to focus on as a beginner. So I want to thank you for following along. I really hope this was helpful. I've been getting a lot of feedback from people with questions and comments, and so I feel like it's been a successful series, and I really hope that it's going to help some of you get off on the right foot with bow making and avoid some of the pitfalls and frustrations that can come along with making your first few bows. So thanks for watching, and good luck with your projects, and I'll see you for the next video.